Priyanka Kohli. I'm the product manager for API gateways and API security. Over the next few slides, I will be talking about the top 10 OWASP API security threats and common attacks for GraphQL. What is OWASP? OWASP is Open Web Application Security Project, which is an open community that publishes a ranking of the most critical web applications and API security flaws. They publish a top 10 list of what enterprises should be looking at when they are applying the different types of threat protections. Since API security is different in many ways than typical approach to web security, the OWASP top 10 web application security risks are also different from the OWASP API security top 10. Threat 1. Broken object level authorization. What does that mean? Broken object level authorization is an access control vulnerability which occurs when a user supplied input is used to access other resources that they should not have access to regularly. In this type of vulnerability, an attacker can exploit the endpoints by manipulating the ID of the object that is being sent in the request. It can allow unauthorized access to the sensitive data. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? API Gateway validates that the token provided by the requesting client applications has not been tampered by using OAuth and OpenID Connect protocols. API Gateway helps in mitigating this vulnerability by enforcing API key verification, OAuth 2.0 authorization protocol, and JSON Web Token policies. Programmatic access via a custom policy using gateway script or XSLT provides the ability to take the advantage of more deeper gateway capabilities such as broad security standard supports like SAML, WS Security, SSL, TLS, configurable AAA, crypto processing, and key protection. Gateway provides a centralized platform for security governance needs. API Gateway also provides seamless integration with Envision runtime protection for advanced AI and ML level of intelligence for detecting broken authorization attacks. Threat 2. Threat 2 is about broken user authentication. What does that mean? Authentication is a critical component of any application. Poor implementation of authentication methods, sensitive authentication details like auth tokens or passwords included in the URL, or misconfiguration of JOT can impose these authentication threats. How can you mitigate this threat in API Connect? API Connect supports different ways to authenticate users and applications, such as API Key and OAuth 2.0. API Key validation provides basic authentication, and OAuth 2.0 is more comprehensive and substantial implementation for authentication, depending on the classification of the protocol. API Gateway also provides easy integration with many industry-leading identity access management solutions like LTAP and Active Directory. API Gateway is a strong solution for providing a centralized point of control for message authentication. This IBM solution implements a broad array of security standards such as OIDC, SAML, Keybrose, SiteMinder, and more. API Gateway policies can also be crafted that will force all session cookies to have consistent expiration policies to help prevent session hijacking of old or abandoned sessions. To further maximize the security, it is recommended to use mutual TLS on all communications to support protection of session IDs and credentials. For more complex needs in data handling or rewriting rules, you can use a programmatic approach via a custom gateway script or XSLT policy to mitigate this threat. Threat 3. This threat is about excessive data exposure. What does that mean? APIs can expose too much of data. excessive data exposure can result in attackers using those extra details to gather information they should not have to, or use that information to formulate a more sophisticated attack. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? API Connect encrypts data in transit and at rest and offers the capability of redacting message payloads to protect or remove any specific data fields. We support mutual TLS to secure the pipelines. Additionally, the payloads themselves are secured via methods like encryption, hash, and redact. API Gateway provides the ability to rewrite the request and response to protect against any excessive data exposure. It lets you add or remove form parameters, headers, or query parameters to and from a message. You can typically add, change, or remove properties of either the request or response. It enforces message mediation policies at the API gateway level to filter any data that is being returned from an API call, which will ensure that unnecessary sensitive data will not be exposed to the client. These policies contains rules to reference code that should be executed while having access to all parts of the message being passed through the gateway. IBM API Connect provides a fully fledged API management solution that allows users to configure policies for incoming and outgoing messages through the gateway via allow list and block list. It also provides a full control over what data should be logged. Unique data handling requirements can be met with scripting via gateway scripts and XSLT. API Gateway also provides seamless integration with Envision runtime protection for more advanced AI and ML detection intelligence for excessive data exposure attacks. Threat 4. This threat is about lack of resources and rate limiting. What does that mean? This threat occurs when measures have not been put into place to implement rate limiting that would protect the APIs or applications from attacks like denial of service or brute force attacks. Without these measures in place, attackers can use an indefinite number of resources to gain access to applications, limit the functionality, or just stop it from functioning altogether. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? API Gateway implements various mechanisms to prevent invalid requests from coming to the system, such as it provides content filtering that includes SQL and XPath injection, attachment filtering, schema validation, for example, validating XSSDs and JSON schema, provides various out-of-the-box policies for rate limiting the overall number of inbound requests to backend systems using mechanisms like subscription to APIs and quota enforcement policies. It limits against a payload size, label length, and the value size. It also provides header and query string validations, provides XML and JSON parse limits, or any external reference handlings. With all these protective measures in place, it ensures that the valuable backend resources such as CPU and memory usage are not misused. Threat 5. Broken function level authorization. What does that mean? Many modern API-based applications have APIs with multiple resources to perform various tasks, thereby increasing the need for proper authorization checks while considering the user hierarchy. It can result in attackers being able to access important and sensitive functionality and information that is only available for authorized users. Generally, administrative functions are the key targets for this type of attack. How can you mitigate this threat in API Connect? API Connect supports role-based access control across all scopes for granular control. API Connect supports the hierarchical organization structure and allows defining subadmins for fine-grained access control across all scopes. In API Connect, an org can contain one or more catalogs, and a catalog can contain one or more spaces. By that I mean that each org can has its own admins that control and define things like its teams, resources, processes at the org scope. Then each catalog can have its own admin that controls and defines the team's resources and processes at the catalog scope. And then each space can have its own admin that controls or defines the resources and processes at the space scope. In API Gateway, OAuth scope based access control functionality can be used to mitigate this threat. Once the OAuth token is received from the user, Gateway can validate it before allowing the request to pass through to the trusted zone. Again, API Gateway also provides seamless integration with Envision runtime protection for a more advanced AI and ML level of intelligence for detecting any broken authorization attacks. Threat 6. Mass assignment. What does that mean? When APIs expose resources or variables, attackers can use this to craft their request and call to access resources they aren't supposed to. API based applications contain objects that have a large number of properties, of which only a few should be updated directly by a client. There are also properties that should not be edited by the client, such as permissions related properties that are set only by admins. If these properties are identified by attackers, it could lead to privileged escalation, data tampering, or could result into bypassing stringent security mechanisms. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? From API Gateway perspective, we provide several useful features for ensuring robust data filtering implementation capability via allow list and block list. It provides schema validation to prevent any exposure of confidential data to the client application. API Gateway provides the ability of screening all API requests that contain parameters that are defined as sensitive and should only be changed internally from the application. API Gateway is capable of screening the parameters passed in the API request by scope and allows one to define outputs and payloads explicitly that helps to prevent the mass assignment. It provides transport level security, SSL, HTTPS, and the message level protection to ensure that the message integrity is protected against any vulnerability. Again, API Gateway also provides seamless integration with Envision runtime protection for a more advanced capability for detecting any mass assignment attack. Threat 7. Security misconfiguration. What does that mean? Misconfigured security settings in APIs or applications can lead to attackers exploiting vulnerable setting to exploit the application. These could be misconfigured TLS, unpatched services, outdated services, or plugins, or any unprotected files or misconfigured course policies. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? With API Gateway, you can establish and standardize the hardening and patching processes via role-based access control at API Connect level in order to provide full control over the configuration of the gateway policies. IBM solution allows you to develop a governing ecosystem around the API lifecycle. It provides the ability to ensure adherence to security policies, configuration requirements, and proactively identify, diagnose, and resolve the security incidents. By pulling security policies and functions away from the API implementation and centralizing them on the API Connect Security Gateway, the chance of security misconfiguration is reduced significantly because the number of systems that contain security processing code is being reduced. Additionally, centralizing corporate-wide security policies on a common gateway means that services that trust the gateway are all configured to share a consistent security policy among them. Gateway supports open API definition and is well equipped to deal with this type of vulnerability by allowing coarse configuration. Threat 8. Injection. What does that mean? This threat is commonly noted when a malicious client sends a mal-informed request that could hit your backend applications. It can be applied via SQL code injection. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? API Gateway has built-in out-of-the-box policies which customers can apply for different threat protections or different enforcement. Things like schema validation. API Gateway will act as an enforcement point so that you can have the valid request go through and invalid requests are being blocked with appropriate error reporting to the client as well as proper and accurate logging of those error messages. Second, it provides data type checking for input invalidation request. Third, it provides XML and JSON thread protection. Fourth, it provides SQL injection filter and regular expression filters. This could be common regex or string that malicious client tries to inject to manipulate the data. You can look for different regex like delete, execute, drop, insert, or SQL code key parameters that a malicious client could send in the incoming request. Again, it provides seamless integration with Envision runtime protection for powerful AI and ML capabilities for detecting any injection attacks. Threat 9. Improper asset management. What does that mean? Non-production or earlier version of the APIs that are still in use or not decommissioned properly becomes the potential target for attackers. How can you mitigate this threat in API Connect? This threat can be addressed by leveraging the API Connect matured capabilities to manage the full API lifecycle, allowing you to create a comprehensive governance model. API Gateway supports HTTPS and TLS 1.3 protocols for secured communication across network infrastructure. Threat 10. Insufficient logging and monitoring. What does that mean? Improper logging and alerting can allow attackers to go undetected, and therefore a strategy should be required to obtain insights over critical client events. How can you mitigate this threat using API Connect? API Connect Analytics provides you with the ability to see client traffic, user-based traffic, and product-based traffic in a transaction flow. It provides a rich analytics engine that allows you to dive into each individual policy to learn more about how your API program or your API proxies are performing. API Analytics stores the API event logs as they are processed from the gateway service, process API log events from the gateway, and map that to provide a usable analytics fields for almost a real-time visibility into a complete API transaction flow. API Gateway can also integrate with IBM Security QRadar for intelligent security analytics for having insights into the most critical threats. API monitoring tool called DataPower Operations Dashboard can be used for deep API transactional insights and capabilities like visualizing the aggregated metric data from the API events so that the API providers can better understand their API's health and consumption, and surfacing the API calls raw log data to help developers debug. Customers can also offload the API event logs to a targeted locations like Splunk, Syslog, Kafka, HTTP, and so on. In API Gateway, you can send logging within your proxy layer. So with the thread protections that we talked about earlier, you can look for a particular string or validation when the application sends it. API Connect Test and Monitor is also a powerful tool that is easy to use and enable the customer to test an API from the outside world to assess the health on the API level. For auditing and administrative actions, API Gateway logs all activity along with essential metadata such as the date and timestamps, source IP addresses, and user IDs. Handing over to Morris to help us understand how you can mitigate the GraphQL common attacks using IBM API Gateway.